We do. Got to sip one of these while we're talking to you, don't we?
Yeah, we're talking Brett Myers. We're sipping some beers.
It is Friday.
It is Friday. All right, let's go here. Y'all started like 30 seconds.
Yeah, perfect.
Three. Welcome back to Branded Radio here on AM 1490 Sports Betting Radio. With it being the 12-year anniversary of the 08 Phillies World Series Championships, we're going to shift gears a little bit to baseball here, and we are now joined by a legend from that championship team and a now full-on country star. It's the one and only Brett Myers. Brett, how you doing, sir?
Doing good. How about y'all?
Doing good. You said it's Friday. Beer's flowing. Well, it's Saturday if you're listening to this. Oh, boy. Already radio mistake 101.
Edit.
Spoiler alert, pre-recorded. What are you going to do? I want to jump right in. I'm super excited. I was talking to Kevin before this. You know, you really become like a sports fan right when you hit like 12, 13, really knowing all the players and everything about it. So that was like right when you made your debut in 02. So, you know, talking to you, I'm super excited about. Let's talk about that 08 team. What made you guys so special, so tough, and so fun? Like, that was a fun team.
I really think that it was the loss, excuse me, the loss the year before. And I think that like just getting a taste of the playoffs really like brought us in with a different attitude the following year. And, you know, it was our second year together, working to try to get back to the playoffs and everything. So it was, I think that had a lot to do with it for me personally, at least, because it left a bad taste in our mouth. And I think it made us hungrier to go out there and get back to the playoffs and not be as I guess I would say I was disappointed in our performance with going 3 and out against the Rockies, but I think that had a lot to do with our determination the following year, and we knew we were good, and we just had to prove it to everybody, and you know, some things got to fall your way and help you, and I think we really bonded over that year starting in spring training. So you know, it was a good group of guys. I think we all got along, even though we were like brothers at times where we didn't like each other. But, you know, that's like any household, you know. So, but we ended up pulling it out and, you know, just great group of guys. We see each other now. We're just, you know, I think you had enough entertainment from different personalities on that team that made it work.
Yeah, that team was super fun on and off the field. You guys were just a great team to watch. Never out of a single game. And it just felt like at any day, you know, you, Cole, or Jamie could go the distance. It was a fun team to watch. Who's your favorite teammate of that squad?
I don't know. There's a bunch of them. You know, I guess in clubhouses, or at least the unwritten rule, I guess you would say, is like hitters are supposed to hate pitchers and pitchers aren't supposed to like the hitters, like they don't talk or whatever. But I think we all got along just fine with that, and not you know, I have respect for the everyday guys because I wanted to play every day, but that just wasn't my role, you know. But you know, those guys had to, you know, turn it on every single night, and we had 4 days off in between starts and stuff. But kind of too much time for me to think about what I had to do. But you know, I had a rough year that year, you know, starting out early in the season, so it was like bittersweet for me. In the end, because, you know, I got sent to the minors. I didn't have to go, but I had to for the team, you know, because I wasn't doing my job. And I came back and it all worked out. So, like I said, it was up and down season for me. And I was extremely proud of the way I bounced back and the way the team, you know, rallied around me in the second half of the season.
Yeah, speaking a little bit about the bounce back, the year before, obviously 07, you guys come back 7 back with 17 left. You end up, after the first 3 starts, moving to the bullpen. Talk to us a little bit about that. I know you're a big team player guy. Talk to us a little bit about that conversation and kind of your mindset moving to the closer role.
Well, the year before I'm pretty sure, actually Pat Gillett came and saw me at the end of the 06 season, and we had talked, and it was it wasn't like predetermined, but we had so many starters in the rotation. I was like, well, if you want me to go to the bullpen, I'll be glad to do it. You know, I didn't have a problem with that. I was under contract anyway, you know, but I kind of embraced the role. I loved it because like I said, I want to play every day. That 4 days off of sitting around and, I mean, obviously working to get ready for the next start, but you just don't get a chance to get any live action out there. So being the closer was, or just being in the bullpen, you never knew when you were going to get in, and you had to really follow the game because, depending on the score, how they're going to use you and stuff like that, you had to be ready at any moment and any time, But once you're the closer, you got a pretty good feel when you're going to pitch and when you're not going to pitch. So, that's just from watching the game, before. But I had a lot of help in the bullpen too with Tom Gordon, kind of taking me under his wing and teaching me the ropes before he got hurt and everything. So, but that right there was probably I had a lot of fun doing that. I was young. I could throw hard still at the time, but it was just it was what the team needed, and I was more than willing to do it, and it was a lot. I would say it's not really easy, but being a starter before that and having 4 pitches developed, you could have 1 or 2 off that night and still get through the inning.
Yep. And then, so talking about that moment, that 07, you get that final out, you throw your glove in the air. That was my first experience as a fan of Phillies playoff baseball. That was a huge moment. But to talk about another moment, back to 08, you have the walk. And anytime there's a moment that just starts with the and has one word after it, it's usually a pretty good moment.
It's a moment.
Where would you rank, the walk against CC? He's coming off a Cy Young year. He's pitching under 2 ERA all year. Where would you rank that among like your career highlights?
I don't know. I mean, I think they made it I know it was a big deal, don't get me wrong, but I also pitched that game and threw like 7 innings and beat him on the mound too. That's what I tell people. But it's funny because it's like I didn't even pitch that game. But honestly, I didn't I went into that game. I was hot at the time too, coming into the season, and I had a lot of work to do. Obviously, being in the minors, coming back to the second half, I was throwing pretty good too. So you never know what's going to happen. They rode him pretty hard at throwing 3 days rest all the time. So it's baseball. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I could have never told you I predict that I was going to go up there and walk against CC Sabathia and all my years, I could probably never say that was going to happen, but something happens when you get into the playoffs. That extra adrenaline that the fans bring, and knowing that cool weather, the October baseball and stuff like that, just gives you a different drive and a different feeling. It's almost like your body gets rejuvenated, and it's like you're fresh, like you came like started the season. But I couldn't ever predicted that, and I'm pretty sure that's why it's one of the highlights in that season, because nobody predicted that. I think I hit 067 that year, so so it was but I'm telling you, I don't even know what was going on. Like I wasn't really, I could barely hear the crowd, like you're trying to lock in or everything, and it was just, I mean, you look back on it now and it's like the only thing that I ever did in Philadelphia, which is fine with me. At least they still remember.
We are joined by Phillies legend and country star Brett Myers. Now, Brett, it is funny. Joe's talking to you about the walk against CC, and you're joking like I pitched that game. So, speaking of when you are pitching, give me a guy that was probably your toughest out and a guy that you loved to face.
Wow. Well, I don't know, man, because some of the times I'm like, yeah, man, I pitched good against that guy, and then I go back and look at the numbers, and he hit like over 300 off me. I'm like, I could have swore I got him out more than that. But I liked all of them, like the face. I like facing all of them because it was like mano a mano, it was like me versus them and stuff, and I love that feeling competing. But David Eckstein was a pain in my rear end, man. I think he was a pain in a lot of guys' rear ends because he would just go up there and he'd foul off every dang thing you threw up there, and then by that time you're 10 pitches into the game, and then you look over on deck and Pujols is staring at you, going, "Yeah, I know you're tired now." So, or worn down a little bit, because Eckstein would work you, man. And I just got to the point later in my career where I just started throwing it down the middle to him, see how far he could hit it. I mean, he was a pain in the butt, but
he didn't wear batting gloves, did he?
I don't think he did, but he just and I'm not saying that he hit really good off of me. It was just like those little slappy guys that give you a good at bat every time. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is that day; they still find a way to work you, 7, 8, 10 pitches in an at bat, and it's kind of like mentally exhausting, I guess you would say, because you're like, I don't know what else to throw this guy. I've thrown the kitchen sink at him, and he's just still up there slapping balls and fouling them off. And those pesky little hitters were a pain in my rear. But
he's like one of those little gnats that you can't get away from your face.
yeah, but it worked for him. It worked for him, and it wore the pitcher down. To you got Halladay and Pujols and Ankiel, and like those guys behind him, and you're just like, oh great, it gets a lot easier. Let me tell you, which it didn't.
All right, I want to shift gears now. I keep saying country music star now. So I know your album dropped this summer, Baptized in Gasoline. So tell the people a little bit about that and where they can find your music.
It's sold. It's everywhere digitally. iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. You name it. I don't know all the streaming companies these days, or it's Google Play, Amazon. So it's over there. So that's actually our 4th album that we put out. We're working on a 5th one right now. So, I mean, I started this probably a few years back, and I think in 2013 I was hurt with the Indians, and which ended up being my final season because I couldn't recover from an elbow injury. But I just started. I've always played guitar. It started when I got called up in 2002. Our video guy Kevin Camasholi used to be a guitar teacher, so we would sit there and noodle around on the guitar and stuff. He'd teach me some things, and then it turned into me collecting guitars because I like the looks of them and everything. And then 2013, I was like, you know what? I think it'd be a pretty cool accomplishment just to write my own song, and from front to back. And I had a buddy of mine come in that played in the band Nonpoint at the time, and we just sat down and started noodling around on the guitar and came up with like 3-4 songs and felt pretty good about it, but it wasn't done professionally. And I didn't even really plan on singing any of this. Honestly, I just wanted to write the song and have somebody else do it because I never thought that I would be in the booth singing. And it came down to a buddy of mine played in Puddle of Mud. He's a producer now, Damon Starkey, that just we ended up doing a song together, writing it. And he's like, all right, get in there and sing. And I said, absolutely not. I told him, and I literally left his house going, I'm not getting in there, and don't call me about it. So he tricks me, calls me, he says, I'm having a get together at the house. That's where his studio is at. And he's like, why don't you come over and have a few beers and stuff? So I guess it dawned on me when I realized there was probably only like 4 or 5 people there, and they were all musicians. And I'm going, what is going on? So we just started drinking and telling stories about baseball and music there, because I have guys from Puddle of Mud and Shinedown in my band. So it's like, so they're telling me stories about theirs, and I'm like, I probably got that same story in the bag, but just a different place and time. So, but then I get about 6, 7 beers and he goes, let's go to the studio and goof off. And next thing you know, I'm in there singing. So from my first album through my second album, I would have to, no matter what time it was, I'd have to drink 5 or 6 beers to get the and I still sweat in there, and the mic's in front of me, and there's nobody else in there with me.
So it's a mental game.
It's just one of those things. And then, that was fine. I got comfortable with that, and I don't need to drink anymore to get on the mic, but I've gotten more comfortable, I guess you would say. But the funny thing is that I never planned on doing any of this stuff live. I'm like, man, I'm going to get up there and mess up the words. And it's like, it's kind of like pitching, you have to do it, and you got to keep repeating it and over so you feel comfortable with it. And I did my first live show. I stuck my foot in my mouth because I said, I'm not going to play. I was trying to get out of it. I said, I'm not going to play live shows unless I play an arena. And I was being funny. Okay. I was being funny because I know that was never going to happen. Right. So about a few months after saying that, I get a call from our local arena football team asking me to play a halftime show. And I'm going, oh my God, now I got to do it. I got to do it. It's an arena. I got to go. So I ended up doing that first show, which was only like 2-3 songs. So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like a full set of 10, 12 songs, And so I did it, and I was like, that was pretty awesome. I want to do another one. So, I got the bug, I guess. But man, the nerves in that, I don't think people laugh at me all the time. I was like, I don't think I've ever been so nervous. They're like, you pitched in front of 70,000, 50, 70,000 people, or whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, but been doing that since I was 4. I just started this 4 months ago. Like I'm not a seasoned vet up here by any means, man. And I'm nervous. I don't even like singing. As of months ago at the time, I didn't even like singing into a empty room with a mic. But I practiced probably for 2 months for that first show, and it was only 2 songs. I was just trying to make sure I knew the words, even though like you write the words to songs and stuff. That doesn't mean that you know them. And people learn the songs by listening to them over and over again. And like we're working on this new album, and by the time these songs get out, I will probably have heard these songs 1,000 times a piece. And I'm just like, I don't want to listen to them no more. I'm over it. I'm ready to write some new stuff,
There you go.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Brett, thank you for joining us from the mound to the microphone. He is a must follow on Twitter at BackwoodRebel39. He is an 08 Phillies champion and will be forever. It's the one and only Brett Myers. We'll be right back here on Branded Radio on AM 1490 Sports Betting Radio.
Can we talk about how the mound to the mic might be an awesome name for your 6th album? Oh, shit.
The funny thing about that is that at first, so I was thinking like we were going to call ourselves, a band name, you know what I mean? And so talking with my producer, and he plays bass in the band too. And I was just like, what do we, I said, I was going to call us Backwoods Rebels. I mean, I came out with that name. I was like, all right, we'll just call ourselves that. Or I was thinking like an alias or something to come out with, and me being like the critics saying that I suck, which is going to happen. Don't matter. People might not like the music, or they say I suck, but hopefully more people like it than hate it, or they just don't like me as a ball player, basically. So I was all adamant about like not letting anybody know that it was me. And he goes, if you want to sell records, you got to put your name on it and play with the baseball thing, like use your baseball background to get people interested in the music now. And he was right, but catching grief and stuff from people like you sucked as a player, now you suck as a musician, which I'm like, I was like a duck at that point in time where I'm like, I don't really give a damn what these people think.
That's just the internet. Anyway, the internet's always gonna.
Internet's gonna internet.
Yeah,
but I had to tell myself I didn't do this for them. I did it for me.
Exactly.
Just to say I did it. Like I did one album, or I did an EP with 5 songs and released it, and then I'm like, I want to do more. So I finished that album. It was our first album, and then it turned in. These ideas just don't stop running through my head. Like I'll come up with like one-liners or something like you just did, mount to the mic or whatever, and like write a song about it. Write a story around it. Like all these stories might not be true, or they could have happened to me, or they could have happened to a friend of mine, or somebody told me a story about it and I wrote a song about it. So I try to be as upbeat as I can with the music, just because I don't like that sad stuff. I guess I want people to drink beer to my music, ride around in a boat, go forward. I don't care, whatever. I try to write that kind of party music, I guess you would call it. Something.
Yeah, your life music.
Yeah, your stuff is fun. I mean, I was listening to the other day, listening to some of it. The Rattlesnake, Yoga Pant, like those are just like they're fun songs.
So
you said
it's funny because when I did Yoga Pants, that was on my first album. It was probably like my 3rd song I did or something like that, and I was nervous about it because I'm like, man, is this like sexist or anything like that? Talking trash about, not really talking trash, but just saying what are women doing wearing these yoga pants? But I came up with that idea. I literally was dropping my kid off at preschool, and like every one of the moms walking in was wearing yoga pants. I'm going, what is going on? Like, are y'all just wearing them because they're comfortable, or are you really going to work out? I don't know what was going on. So it was kind of like probably, I guess it brought attention to yoga pants, but I was afraid that the women were going to hate it, and more women love that song than the men do. Like, and it's funny because they tell me, "Oh, that yoga pants song is awesome," and I was like, "Well, it was a part of my personality that I'm just going to say it. I don't care." And I wrote Kegerator. Kegerator's another one that's funny that my buddies and I would complain. Not really complain, but just our wives would check the trash can, and I'd have a couple buddies over, and we'd drink probably 12, 15 beers between us, and the recycling can was full, and she goes, "How many did you have?" And I was like,
10,
I don't know. I was like, so in the song, I write about how she's counting my cans, but I bought a kegerator, so now she only sees one cup, so she can't complain to me no more.
That's like me. I just had to walk past my wife and put this beer in my pocket so she didn't see it, to ask why I'm drinking this beer right now. Going to talk to Brett Myers.
Yeah.
Down there.
It's funny, man. It's funny because and that song pretty much details it out, exactly what you're talking about. And and my buddies got mad at me because it was something we were just sitting around talking about. And he goes, I was like, "I bought a kegerator, man." I was like, "I bought a kegerator." I'm like, "The hell with it." She's not going to talk about how many beers we drink anymore. We can sit out here all day. And I had 3, just 3.
3. That's it.
Yes.
So one thing I didn't know about you until I started, before we were doing this, I had no idea that you were boxing before baseball.
Yeah, my dad was a boxing promoter for most of my young life. And I grew up in the gym around, I was around Michael Spinks, Larry Holmes, stuff like that. And my dad had local fighters too. And I had nowhere to go. I mean, he was a single father and my mom had split at the time. So me and my brother were at the gym all the time, hitting bags and boxing. And my dad said he had a boxing gym in a mall one time. And I'm out there grabbing kids in the mall, telling them to come in and fight me. And I think I was probably like 6, maybe 7, something like that. But yeah, I grew up in the gym boxing. Pretty much that's how I trained. It was the only way I knew how to train for baseball. That's how I got in shape in the off season. I went straight like I was getting ready to fight a 15-round fight and tried to I had one of my dad's former trainers train me. And so yeah, boxing has always been a big part of my life growing up. I just didn't like getting hit. And my dad was like, "You're done. I don't want to watch you get hit no more." But if they hit me, I just got mad but I didn't like getting hit at all. So I'm like, I'm done with this.
Now, I was going to say one follow with that. What's the mentality difference stepping into the ring as opposed to you're stepping out there 9th inning with a 1-run lead?
I think the boxing kind of molded my mentality when I played baseball because it's a fight, like you're going into a fight. It's you versus the other guy, and it's one-on-one. And you have to exploit the weaknesses, to get out. So or you can just be stubborn and pitch to your strengths, even though that's their strength, which it's okay. That's all right. I learned a lot about the mentality of playing professional sports through boxing, I would say, because I was just a mean kid and I did not like losing. I didn't like getting hit. I just, my dad saw potential in baseball when I started when I was 4 or 5 years old, and he got me out of the ring by the time I was 12. So, I mean, I was 6 years out of it when I got drafted, but it's still that mentality kind of carried over to the ball field for me. Like if a guy got a hit off of me, I wanted to meet him at first and punch him. I didn't like that. I didn't like it. I had to learn to deal with it. Like guys get hits off me. I hated it. That was like him hitting me in the face with a boxing glove, in my opinion. So I had to try to learn how to control my emotions when it came to that and just attack the next hitter.
So do you ever we said from the mound to the microphone. So being behind the microphone, do you ever get any of those same feelings when you're behind the microphone that you did when you were on the mound?
No, I'm scared to death. Because I mean, like in the studio, you run a bunch of takes, so you'll get it right. and like so you'll do one take and you'll be like, oh, that one sucked, and then you go give it another one, you're like, oh, that one was better, and then you kind of take the best ones and you put it on the record, so you're getting a bunch of tries, edit in the studio, and you go out and you do it live. You got one try, buddy. You mess it up, they're gonna say you suck. Hopefully they're as drunk as you are and don't really know what the hell's going on.
I love it.
Let me ask you a question about the current Phillies. Do you think a 40-year-old Brett Myers right now could pitch in that bullpen? Because I most certainly do.
Oh, man. You know what? It would take some time, and I don't know how. I just tried to play softball the other dang night, and I freaking tweaked my quad running. So I don't know if I can make it, but I sure would. I sure love the challenge, but I wouldn't know how long I'd hold up. I haven't done that, and I'm a glorified BP thrower now for my boys.
Love it.
I'd love to see you out there in a setup position for that team right now.
I definitely could bring some experience and maybe some talking to or whatever like that. But I mean,
bullpen coach.
They're not going to bring me back, but I'd think about it, for sure. I love the game. Like right now, like I got my 15-year-old son and just is a freshman in high school now. So, following him around, watching him play. And then I got a 9 and 10-year-old boy that are playing. So I'm at a ball field pretty much every day or every night at least. And so I'm enjoying watching them right now and, watching their progression, especially now that my 15-year-old's in high school. I'd like to see what he can turn out and be.
I think one of our bloggers, and it actually might even been me, wrote that your son probably could pitch for them this year too.
Yeah, I guess I got in trouble with that with the organization my buddy, my son's with, but I was like, I told him to basically kiss my ass. So I was like, I don't care, man. It's funny. Like it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, just have fun.
Just enjoy it. It goes back to what your songs are. Stop taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
Just have a good time.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that's a bad look for Colt. I said, no, it's not. I said, no, it's not at all. I said, nobody actually thinks they're going to call him at 15 damn years old and go, hey, you're pitching for the Phillies tonight. He ain't ready for that.
Exactly.
He ain't ready, even though he was born in Philly. He is not ready for that Philly crowd. He can't stand it when I boo him. I tell him, he purposely, when he has a bad game, will not ride with me on the way home. He rides with his mama.
Oh,
because I'm going to wear him out.
Speaking of, so what, last one from me, what stadium as an opposing pitcher was either the worst or your favorite to pitch at?
Oh, well,
like Yankee Stadium gets, I
didn't. I played in the new Yankee Stadium, so there really wasn't the nostalgia there. But I mean, my debut was in Wrigley, and that's got to be my number one. Even though the clubhouse was small and it wasn't like luxurious, and especially when you go there in September and you got the full roster up there, and it's like you're sharing lockers with guys, and you can't hardly move. You got asses in your face and everything. You're like But no, definitely, I would say Wrigley, just because when I was younger, the only baseball that we got to watch here in North Florida was the Cubs when I got home from school and the Braves before I went to bed. So that was the only two teams we got to watch. So obviously, me seeing Wrigley Field and knowing the guys, seeing the guys that were some of my players like Hawk, Andre Dawson, Ron Sandberg, Mark Grace, and stuff like that, watching those guys play, and I'm like, I'm on the same damn field as they were. This is cool. So, and I also pitched well in Wrigley too, and I don't know why.
Yeah, that your debut. I remember when you came out. You went. What'd you go? Like 8 strong, gave up 1 earned. I think that was it. Something like that.
You came out.
You came out looking
and
really
and it was all downhill from there. Next start was terrible.
You're still getting your feet wet.
That's right.
Was there ever a team that like you wish you could have played for? I know that's a very controversial question, especially in the Philadelphia fan base. Was there ever a team like
no, I mean, obviously like the Cubs and Braves, just because I grew up watching them,
Yeah.
But no. I mean, I played for the exact team that I needed to play for, because I can tell you that the Philly fan base is exactly my mentality, and I love their mentality, and they were some of the worst fans in the world. You know what I mean? And
I
I don't
love that
mean that
analogy.
like when I'm going bad, they're gonna tell me. So obviously I'm not gonna like them. But when you're going good, you're gonna love them. You know, so I'm not saying anything bad about the Philadelphia fans or anything like that. It's just that they let you know. There's kind of like I just yelling at my kid about not having a good game. He don't want to ride with me home. He wants to ride with his mom because she won't say nothing to him about it. But Philly fans are like me. I'm going to tell you when you suck.
Mm-hmm.
So and if you can handle that, and like I had guys come up to me at a bar or whatever, I was eating dinner or something, and they're like, "You suck tonight." I'm like, "Don't you think I know that? You don't need to tell me."
Yeah, you're like,
know this.
I'm
it
kicking my.
how much it upset me.
I'm realistic, man. I'm like, I know it sucked. I busted my ass to not suck, but it didn't work.
My bad.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not trying to suck out here, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not trying to.
Last one. So with, you're talking about the fans being hard. I know sometimes the Philadelphia media can be difficult to deal with as well. Was there any media person you liked, interacting with, and anyone that you despise working with?
Well, once I learned how to handle it, and there were some of them that I like Todd Zalecki, was a friend, like on and off the field. Like Jim Salisbury, like we'd meet up at Duffy's or whatever, Duffers, and have a beer after games sometimes, or off days or something like that, because he lived near me. But yeah, I mean, like they gained my trust. Like the thing was, I didn't trust any of them, because when we're coming up, they tell you about the media when you go to like classes and stuff like that, and they tell you how to handle the media and everything. But it was just like I didn't trust any of them. I didn't like any of them. I felt like they were all out to get me, and I was like, and once I was there long enough, I learned how to deal with them. I guess they learned my personality a little bit more. But I mean, there's a lot of stress on a 20-year-old kid when you got Bo and Book all over you trying to make you a better player, and you're just you've got a lot of nerves, and then especially after like a tough game, they want to come and ask you, why did you do that? I'm like, what do you mean why did I do that? I mean, the guy hit it out. What do you want me to tell you? Like he had a good pitch, or I made a mistake. So once I learned how to just go, I suck, and then the next question was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. Like what? Once you told them like what they wanted to hear, basically is like, if you have a good game, and I would just say, yeah, my catcher called a good game. Oh, would you remember this pitch? I'm like, he called it. I didn't do it. Or something like that, But bad games, they wanted you to say something so they could wear you out,
Yep.
And once I learned how to say, I sucked tonight, I wasn't good, and then that was the end of the questioning. Because I'm like, what else do you want me to say? If I got up there and rambled, if I got up there and rambled and told them I thought I threw the ball well, I thought I felt well, the fans don't want to hear that. They watch the game. They ain't stupid.
Yeah.
No, I would just say, hey, I felt like tonight, and I sucked. And they'll go, thank you very much. And then they'll go over to somebody else. It was funny once I figured that out. It was just, but I never really liked the media anyway, man. I always felt like they were out to get me.
Mm-hmm.
And then like even when I went to Houston, they didn't like me there because I was on a streak, and they wanted to talk to me about the streak, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about the streak.
Yep.
Because once I do that, it's over. They're like, oh man, you've done 10 in a row with 6 innings plus or whatever, and I go, I gotta go. Like I didn't want it. I didn't want it to end,
Yep.
And I didn't want to tell them that because then I'm jinxing myself. So I came across as the biggest ass to them because I didn't want to talk about that streak.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to talk about it either.
One of my favorite memories when you were with Houston was when you came back. I think the game was in Philadelphia, but you had came back. You're playing the Phillies, and Worth is on second base, and you're giving him that look, and you stick your tongue out at him, and you talk. I don't know why I saw that. I was like, man, this is the Phillies I miss. This is this shit.
Yeah. So that Worth still hates me for that.
That was funny.
But like we were good buddies. Like me and him, we'd hang out, and we'd talk. Like he was one of my good buddies. So like I'm on the mound, and I'm intentionally walking Ruiz, I think it was, and I just looked at him and stuck my tongue out at him, and he dropped his head. But my catcher behind the plate was Humberto Quintero, and he had a cannon, and he loved throwing behind runners. He loved doing it. So I didn't know he was going to do that. I was kind of in a pickle there. The pitcher was coming up or whatever, but he hosed him out, and I was just like, what just happened? And
What happened?
I didn't even know that Worth dropped his head and started laughing at that, and then they picked behind him. So Worth still gives me shit about that when I see him.
Yeah, that was so funny. We appreciate you hopping on, man. This was great stuff.
This is awesome.
Go
man.
check out all of Brett's music on iTunes, Spotify. Check it all out.
Wherever you listen to music.
Yep. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Backyard Rebel 39. We appreciate the time, and hopefully we can do this again maybe next year when the Phillies actually make the playoffs. Who knows?
Hey, man.
And hopefully
We'll see
when
what
COVID's
happens.
over, we'll see you at one of your shows.
Oh,
That would be great. We were supposed to play with Skinnerd like 1 week. We were getting ready to leave 1 week to go with Skinnerd, to go out with Skinnerd and Travis Tritt, and they shut it all down. I had 1 week. I thought I was going to make it to go play those shows with Skinnerd and Travis Tritt, and they shut it down. And I was like, and we haven't played a show since. So,
damn.
So,
Well,
hopefully soon.
Do all this and get out of here on the other side.
Absolutely. All right, Brett. Thank you, man.
all right,
Good talk.
take care.
All right, buddy.
That's it.
Bye. The man.
I mean,
That's the most fanboy I've ever been, and the most fanboy I ever will be. Like, we talk to people way more famous than Brett, and I'll be fanboy over Brett Myers my entire life.